to get a bigger kitchen, we flipped the stairs to the other side, as you can see right there.
Okay.
Which would work perfect. Yep. You got it. Yeah. So to get top dollar, couple things are needed. You have to have wow factors, and this house has several.
All right, guys, here we go now. It is time to unlock more doors to deals. We're real estate investors here. We're real estate agents here, and we all have one thing in common. We believe that we can. We can live the life of our purpose. We can create financial freedom. We can build a better life for those that we love, and we can live the life of our dreams. I don't care if you're trying to do your first deal or your 500th this year. You can get to the next level, and we're here to help. Welcome to Doors to Deals. I'm your host and founder, Jim Manning. Today's episode can be found on doorstodeals.com/017, and it's all about how a Three Doors Network member, Kyle Fernandez, flips houses. In the second half of this interview, what we're going to do is we're going to go into a deal deep dive on a property that he sold for way higher than what any other property had ever sold for in the neighborhood. Kyle's going to break down also how he renegotiated this deal because it was originally under contract for too much. And we're going to also talk about how he values neighborhoods. Some neighborhoods he's confident that he can get an appraisal for the 30K plus over any other houses that have sold, and others he's not. So when you're trying to raise the ceiling in a neighborhood, you first have to get it under contract with a buyer. Then you're not out of the woods yet. You actually have to get the appraiser to agree and see the value as well in the neighborhood. So he's going to share some important insights on this at the end. So make sure that you stay tuned for the entire call. I've been doing this, guys, for over 13 years, and I have never thought of analyzing properties this way. So whether you're brand new to investing or a seasoned pro, I think you're going to get a lot out of this interview. Let's get started. Welcome, guys. Really excited about today's training. We have Kyle Fernandez with Palmer House Properties, and Kyle, and you've kind of been a part of this for, has it been 3 years already, or is it more like 2 years? I don't even know now. It's been a couple.
It's over. I thought it was over 3, at least 3. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I looked at a picture the other day of me playing with my son JD. Like we were kind of like both reaching down, looking at the toolbox, and like I had a lot more hair than I'm like have a huge bald spot right now. So anyway, so Kyle, we go back.
Well earned.
Yeah, and so Palmer House Properties. Kyle's actually a broker with Palmer House and a real estate investor, and really focus more on the investing. And today what we really wanted to talk about was just kind of Kyle's, like your background, your journey as a person, as an entrepreneur, kind of go into that, maybe some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome, kind of some of your philosophies on that, because we all encounter problems. We all encounter issues, right? So Dave, an amazing mindset huddle a couple weeks ago, and he was like, this calls for people that need to persevere. If you don't have any issues or any obstacles or anything like that, you can hang up on the call because this call isn't for you. And literally no one hung up, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Business is obstacles. Business is overcoming things, right? So we're going to kind of talk about
that ever happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then kind of at the end of it, what was the property you're kind of wanting to do a deep dive on?
I think Dutch Mill. It actually was one that came from the Three Doors Network. I partnered with David O. He found the house, and kind of when I partner with people, I'm a control freak. So what I like to do is I have complete control of the whole reno and design aspect, which is one of my few talents. And when you guys see this house, if nobody's seen it before, it was a hoarder house. Up till 3 days ago, the worst house I've ever been in. But I was actually in another hoarder house last week, which topped this one, believe it or not. But amazing transformation. We made big money on this house. And it was we had quite a few hurdles, but that's how you learn, right? So Dutch Mill is the house that people are probably somewhat familiar, but if you're not, I have all the before and after pictures, which is, you'll be shocked.
Yeah. So, let's definitely dive into that one. And it'll be interesting because I have talked to Dave about this property from his perspective. And when we went through it, I've I really wanted to talk to you and kind of go through from your perspective too on it. So I'm excited about this because we'll be able to kind of not only have his perspective, but kind of have your perspective on how everything went down, which is going to be invaluable. So, okay. So tell me a little bit about kind of like your background, how you got going on this and yeah.
So short background is I have been, have my license since 2003. In '03, I was working for my grandmother, Mary Alice Waymeyer. She kind of got us into the business. I did it full time for 5 years. I wish I could say I was smart enough to know that the bubble was going to burst and '08 happened, '08, '09. I was just fed up. At this point, I had a whole bunch of rental properties that we bought all completely wrong. That's when we were doing the wonderful stated income, stated asset. You could literally go in, buy a property cash, do a refi. They wouldn't even go out to the house. We were upside down on a whole bunch of properties, getting broken into. So I decided to go to corporate America for, 7 years, got sick of, I was traveling to Indiana, got sick of that. My wife said, I told her I wanted to quit. She said, have a plan. So she turned 40. We went up. Yeah, I know, right? Have a plan. She noticed she didn't say have a good plan. She just said have a plan. So she turned 40. We went on a cruise. I met Kevin Palmer on the cruise from Palmer House Properties. Kevin mentioned that his company at that point was doing, I don't know, 1.2 billion in sales. I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? Got home, called Brian Preston, who's my business partner, said, hey, this guy is doing $1 billion in business. Let's go see what he's doing. Booked a trip to Atlanta with the thought of just kind of picking his brain. We left there with a partnership with Palmer House Properties, a franchise, and we started Palmer House in St. Louis. So that was my plan. Fast forward, I remember I'm driving to Central West End to show property, and I'm thinking to myself, this freaking sucks. I do not want to be showing property. It's like corporate America all over again. I'm tied to clients, so I'm like, I'm going to start flipping property. And it's about the same time I met you guys. Before Three Doors was STL Realty. So I decided I'm going to buy my first flip at the courthouse. Which everybody said, you'll never get it. Well, don't tell me never. Ultimately I won, but I lost. I was the highest bidder on this piece of shit house in Fenton. Went into the house. It was full of mold. It was a nightmare, but learned a ton on that flip, made zero profit, actually lost money. But for the money that was made, for the knowledge that was made, it was well worth it. Decided I should probably learn a thing or two. So it's when I became an affiliate with Three Doors and then just kind of grew from there. I still do some of the retail business side. Brian is, again, my business partner. We have 30 agents. So we kind of have a whole bunch of different aspects of our business as far as retail, which again, it's just not what excites me. We do have retail business. We have 30 agents. But my passion is still on the buy, hold, and I still love buying and flipping. It's truly one of the few things I have an eye for.
What's your how much are you doing rental wise versus flips right now?
Much more flips than rentals, just because right now it's a seller's market. When it's a seller's market, sell, right? We all know that this isn't going to last forever. So that's when I'll pivot and start buying more buy and hold. But right now with the market where it is, I think it only makes sense to buy and sell. I recently bought one in O'Fallon. I'm like, we're going to buy and hold this one. This is going to be a perfect hold property. Well, I didn't. I sold it. I flipped it. And it's because if you can make 20 grand now and 90 days, it just makes more sense because I think we will see properties going on sale sooner or later. And when that happens, I'm going to have a whole bunch of money stockpiled. Then I can buy and hold. My ultimate goal is I want an apartment complex, and you got to have some big cash reserve for that.
Okay. So the one thing that I would say on this, guys, for y'all that are listening, is try and get to a point where what Kyle just said there is not right or wrong. Okay. And what I mean by that is when you view things based on like the business that you want to design and what's best for you. What he said there is he's designing his business for Kyle. So what you want to do is make sure, especially when you're first starting out and you don't necessarily know better, make sure that you're kind of taking the time to craft it, because what he just said there I have a buddy Rahul that is a real estate investor just getting going, but he's a part-time investor. His full-time gig is a Microsoft programmer guy. Brilliant mind. His unique genius zone is programming, and that's how he makes a majority of his money. So he already has income coming in, and what flips are is their income. So for him to kind of it makes a lot more sense to just be hammering rental properties regardless of what the market is. He already has enough income coming in. He's really successful at what he does to just be buying right away, because if he gets into the flip business, then now he's really getting into a more income type of thing, right? So depending on who you are, your personal setup, some of the market conditions too, are all things that factor in. So for Kyle, one of the interesting things that I want to point out is that, he kind of said earlier, hey, my unique genius zone is I'm good at working with contractors and figuring out the finishings. We're going to talk about this one that he bumped up an ARV. Was it $40,000 or something like that? We'll get into it.
60. Yeah. It was funny. As a matter of fact, there's a house next door that was listed, and the agent said, hey, what are you going to sell this for? And I said, I think we're going to list it at 405. Actually, David had the conversation, and she laughed at him. And you'll never get 400,000 for this house. Those are magic words for me, right? Tell me no, tell me I can't do something, and that's what drives me. So that was a great call when we were able to call and say, you know what, you were right. We didn't get 400 for this property. We got 430. So those are fun calls to make, and you just have to. And I know we'll talk about it more, but it's a big risk. You have to be willing to take that risk and throw everything that we've been taught. Like, don't ever be the highest price in the neighborhood. Take that mindset and put it aside. In this market, you can do it. You won't be able to do it forever.
Yeah. And so anyway, I know I just went on a long tangent there, guys. Thank you for listening, but don't be like a shiny object syndrome person that like hears Kyle say that, oh my gosh, okay, now I need to jump in. Pause, think through, what am I good at? Like, do I already have income in Rahul's case? Like, he already has that coming in. And then like weigh everything and all the factors together. And for Kyle, I mean, I 100% agree with your strategy and what you're doing for you. I would tell other people.
Right.
Okay.
Everybody's different. What's your passion, right? What are you passionate about? Find your passion, and that's money will always follow your passion. So that just happens to be my passion. Not that I still like the Airbnb, which is a whole different conversation. Which we all know through this COVID thing that's taken a shift, but I still think it's a good strategy. So just what are you passionate about? That is the most important.
Absolutely. So, okay. So you got in your first deal. Actually, why don't we go back just a little bit? So you started out doing this. How many years did you say when you first started before you got back into corporate America?
So I was 03 to 08, 09, roughly. So 5-6 years.
Yeah. And you take me into that mindset. So you're buying the rentals, and you said you bought them all wrong. Tell me more about that. Like, what happened on those properties?
So again, I was young. Those properties. So we would buy at, it was $60,000. At that time, Bank of America had stated income, stated asset. I knew the zip codes, and it was 100% legal. They put estimation of values on the property. So we would go in and let's say we buy at 60,000. Bank of America would put an estimation of value at 100,000. So we would buy cash, 3 weeks later go get an equity line of credit and literally make $40,000, right? We're the smartest people ever. We just bought a property and paid ourselves $40,000, put a renter in it, it paid for the mortgage. Terrible strategy, the worst strategy ever, because ultimately when the bubble burst, we were sitting on properties that were upside down in bad areas with bad tenants, and we had 9 of them. So at that point, this is when we learned how to do short sales. We did short sales, some of them, and some of them we just essentially gave back to the bank and said, okay, we hit the reset button.
How many rentals did you have at that point?
We had 10 single families.
Okay, so 10 of them.
And a 4-family off Shaw, which I wish I had back.
Okay, and then, yeah, no kidding, that area's blown up here recently, hasn't it?
Crazy. Yep.
So 10 singles, the 4-family on Shaw, so it took you about 6 years to kind of build up this. And then, so really, I mean, did you end up having about $400K of the bank's money, like through this? I mean, was it about $40K you took home? Okay, so
yeah.
$400K.
We were high rolling, man. We had a Benz. We thought we were special. We had plenty of beer drinking money. We were, in our mid to late 20s. So yeah, again, an expensive lesson learned, but I can tell you exactly how not to buy properties now.
Yeah, and then it all kind of just crumbled as things. So what
crumbled,
were those? What did those properties end up being worth? You're in them for $100K. What were they selling for? The market shifted.
60.
Okay. And you had already bought the Benz.
Some left. Oh yeah. It was. It was what I wouldn't change anything because we learned so much from it. We did no value add. We literally would go in, close on it, put a tenant in, and go in and refinance. It's a terrible strategy.
Okay, so what was so then that all fell apart. It took you 9 years to get into corporate America. Was there anything that you've learned in corporate America that's helped you out in your second kind of turn in investing?
I think yes. What I learned in corporate America is more kind of on the agent side. Every business is a people business, right? So it's just knowing how to manage people. And really how to manage myself, how to control my emotions, how to think before I react, which I still work on every day. I learned that, regardless what business you're in, we're all salespeople. So it's every person, everything is a sale. So yes, I learned a ton in corporate America that I put into the business side. And it's all about people. You can have the best product, but if you don't have the right people, you're screwed. So if I learned anything is have good people surrounding you.
So what process do you go through to try and make sure you're doing that? Like do you do any like assessments? Some people are big into that.
I don't. I hate the assessments. Just because I think you don't get a true, like, people are answering assessment tests how they think they want you to hear, right? How you want them to answer. So I don't necessarily love the test. It's all about gut. I think if we all have that gut feeling, just follow your gut. I mean, how many times have your gut been right and you not follow it? More times than not. You just know, especially the older you get, right? I've earned all these grays. And I continue to learn. So it's just over time, you get to learn people. One of my few gifts is I'm pretty damn good at reading people. It takes a bullshitter to know a bullshitter.
Yeah. What's interesting is, so I've done this a long time, and there's a select percentage of people that will be able to that have learned. They're like kind of like a con artist, maybe, kind of like we had a situation where we tried to do a deal and structure a deal with a guy that literally there was 3 or 4 of us. We were all fine with him. He knew exactly what to say, said all the right things, and then nothing happened. And it ended up being a year-long process to get this guy out of a property, out of a deal, that we shouldn't have worked with him at all in the beginning. And
right.
that is like the gut, and following your gut and your intuition is important. And words are words. Somebody can say it in the right tone. They can say it with the right intonation. They can be like, oh man, I trust that guy. And then if their actions don't back it up, the actions are so critically important. Like, cause like every time this guy messed up or didn't do what he said, we talk to him, and he just had this spin. He had this ability to kind of make it sound good. He'd kind of like act like he had talked to one of our other team members, where we put doubt in the mind of like what I was saying. I was like, wait, did my team member say that? And so it took us a full year to kind of get to the bottom of it. Had we just looked at the actions of the individual, it would have helped us out quite a bit. Now, the one thing that it's interesting to get different perspectives, guys, and there's not right or wrong in this. The one thing I do really appreciate and like about assessments is when you're trying to build your team, if you have a role, like let's say it's so we call it inside sales agent, a guy that like Eric on our team is really good at what he does. He picks up the phone from like direct mail leads. That's like that's what he does. He talks on the phone all day. What's nice about the assessment is you can figure out, what the wiring should be of an individual in a role. And if it's like someone that should be more of like an administrative assistant, they can maybe fake it and be okay at that role, but at a certain point they're going to burn out. So what we like to use assessments for is when we're working on roles, to make sure that we're not putting a good person in a role that's going to cause burnout or friction or some, like we're setting somebody up for failure. So that's typically how we have gravitated to it, and how we use it now on our team. So
it works for some. So are you talking like the DISC assessment, that kind of?
There's one called Predictive Index that we like quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
This one's dialed into the point where it's what's their observed behavior, and like what are they going through right now, and what's their actual natural hardwiring. I think it's around, with any of them, there's a margin for error, right? I mean, I think it's 90 to 95% accurate based on what they're finding. We've had 30 plus people use them, and they've been overall pretty accurate. My wife, the first thing, like the very first line on hers was she's going to be like critical to like anything new, and like really have to like weigh it and judge it. And she was like, I don't believe in this assessment thing. I think this is a bunch of load. And I was like, well, wait, you saying that is what the assessment told us you're going to say. So funny,
but reverting back to like the guy that makes the call, I'm like, all right, man, let's jump on a call and let's make some calls. I could tell after 5 calls if he's going to be good or not, right? Everybody has their own systems, but it's about having the systems, right? Systems are key. People, process, and then the last thing is whatever freaking product you have. So it's people before systems.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay, so then you got back going. You bought the house that you had some issues on, but you learned a lot from it.
Yep. I learned not to red tape the shit out of everything, because that really hurts contractors' feelings. What they do on HGTV, the blue tape, every piece. Yeah, don't do that. Because contractors don't like it. It's and some people still do it. You just got to get, again, I didn't know my contractor well enough, and I went in and blue taped the shit out of the house, and it almost destroyed our long-term, which we have now, relationship.
So that was still the same guy you're using now. Okay.
Still the same guy I'm using now. Yep.
So as far as red tape,
he's actually downstairs working right now, so I have to be quiet.
So you're doing the punch list on things. You're trying to help them create a punch list on things you thought needed to be fixed. Okay.
Right. But just went at it all wrong. Yeah.
Okay. So break down that for me. Like, so So when you went at it all wrong, tell me more about that.
Opposed to going in and blue taping, it's like people, especially, I know I'm this way. I like to hear what I've done right before what I heard have done wrong. So now it's like, hey, this looks amazing, but what about this spot here and this spot here? So it's all about the approach, opposed to just going in and slamming everything that they did. It works way better. And then what I started doing is he gets 10% of the net profit on if he hits his timeline, he gets 10% of the net profit of any of the projects that we do. So now they got skin in the game, and it actually, those little details are actually taken care of most of the time. So that's made a huge difference.
And so this has been
give everybody skin in the game.
Yeah. So 3 years you've been working with them, and it almost ended after the first project. So how'd you guys kind of like salvage that when you started to butt heads? What happened there?
I brought Brian Preston in. He was our buffer.
You brought your business.
As a matter of fact, yeah, we bought another property. Chris is like, I won't work with Kyle. So Brian had to take control. So I just kindly, slowly eased, like I would bring him lunch and just slowly ease my way back into friend zone. I take full responsibility. I was a dick. I walked in with, you missed your timeline. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. And ultimately, he was really trying to help out because it was a loser to begin with. So when you're losing money and you're not happy with the work, it was just, again, lesson learned.
Gotcha. Okay. So what else have you been learning as you're kind of getting up into gear? Like what are some other good lessons that you've had as you kind of in round 2 of being a real estate investor? Hey there, if you're looking to get the ultimate edge for your real estate investing company, go to doorstodeals.com/invest for more information. Just so you know, a high percentage of the people that we interview on this podcast are actually already Three Doors Network members. And our network members have a lot of extra resources. They have access to an online training vault with over 3 years worth of content in it. They have access to vendor savings like our Home Depot discount that's literally saved thousands of dollars for members. And we have a weekly group coaching call, and we have a lot of other great things as well as part of the Three Doors Network. So make sure that you check it out on doorstodeals.com/invest. What are some other good lessons that you've had as you kind of in round 2 of being a real estate investor?
The hardest part is acquisition, as you know, and we've been throwing a bunch of shit against the wall, and sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. But one thing I have learned, if it works and if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. You mentioned shiny object. There's so many companies out there that's giving you that shiny object. And I still fall victim. We signed up with a social media company, $55,000, a 12-year contract, and I've gotten 0 leads, 0 phone calls, and we're 4 months in. So, but they promised us the world. I bought into it. The mailers, I'm still a huge advocate of the mailers. I think direct mail still works because you can target certain zip codes and know what you're getting. But I had that shiny object syndrome with this social media company. So number one, acquisition. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I should have stuck with my mailers. Right now, it's tough to get properties because of HGTV. Everybody's a flipper. Everybody's an investor. So it's hard to get the deals. And it's hard to get people to show up and work on the deals, right? You know this. Contractors they're tough, especially right now because there's such a demand for them.
Yeah. What's your, do you know like your cost per lead or what's your direct mail budget? We won't worry about the social media. It's 55 grand. And so as far as
it's probably $5 grand.
$5 grand a month. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily looking at what your cost per lead is on it?
I should. No, I'm terrible at that.
So one of the things that we're working on, so here's
the best leads come from guys I know. I mean, though that's your best. I mean, the wholesale deals have been great for mailers, but the best deals, I can honestly tell you, I've got through somewhere from another was through the Three Doors Network. It could have been a relationship that I had with, I'm doing one right now with Terry. So Dave, so somehow or another, it's all been tied through relationships that I've developed in the industry. It's a relationship business.
Yeah, so we do around 70 to 85% of our deals through relationships, and we've spent. I mean, I think we've spent $300K was like the top marketing budget that we did in a year, right? And it still circled back to the relationships still outweighed that we're doing through marketing. And okay, so
hands down.
So as far as that goes, so real quick on direct mail, let me tell you guys a story of something that we've messed up on. Okay, so I was asking cost per lead, and Kyle, like for real, if there's some advice I could give you, is make sure you dial that in and you are looking at that monthly.
I know. Yep.
That's so in business, there's important things that aren't urgent. And when urgent can kind of like creep in and like, you're like, oh, I don't have enough time for that. I don't have enough time for that. Well, we've spent, we hired a third party vendor to take over our direct mail. And we've spent, over the last 2 years, we've spent $286,000 with them. Okay. And our cost per lead is three times what we were doing it when we did it. Okay. And I literally looked at this data last week and I wanted to throw up. So huge lesson learned there, right? So the same thing, like I can't, I say that to you without judgment, because I did that. I made that mistake and I don't want to ever do it again. So especially when like Kyle, if you want to hammer more into the direct mail, or maybe you want to do less, or you want to bring on another party, when you have that data there, it's so critically important. I think that over the course of things, I mean, 86K invested and not really having that benchmark to see how they were doing, because it's not that I was being lazy, but it was like, well, the data is on this computer that this past employee had access to. I need that spreadsheet. And then finally I sucked it up and spent an hour and a half to get into the computer and everything like that. So make sure
but not everybody knows how to do. So you're a pretty smart guy. It's painful for me to say, not everybody knows how to go. Not everybody has the patience to go in and dial that in. So I was just talking to my accountant, and he's like, hey, you need a K1 here. I go, dude, you're speaking a whole different language to me, man. I'm a salesman who happens to have a little bit of knowledge of QuickBooks. So this is where, again, know what your strengths are. So I'm like, all right, I got to hire somebody on to take over my QuickBooks. It's no longer, I'm doing it incorrectly. I know what the numbers are. The numbers are right, but it's being filed wrong. So in this case, yeah, absolutely. It's on my agenda to get somebody to be able to dial in cost per lead, acquisition cost. Where's my best spend? Because I think it's mailers, but I could be completely wrong, right? So I agree with you on that. But I think not everybody can sit down and do the analytics like you said you can. Or they just don't have the patience, right? My ADD ass is not going to sit down and break it down and try to put all these formulas together. It ain't going to happen. My computer will end up through the window. So if you want to look at mine, I'll give it to you.
But you're going to bring in somebody else to do it, So like
you have to. Yep. Know your strengths, right? Know your strengths.
Okay. So, so then the rehabs have been going really pretty well. So is there anything else kind of on this stage before we get into the deep dive, as you've been through it, any other kind of advice you could give the group or anything like that, as you've gotten this rocking and rolling?
Follow your passion, man. Whatever you love doing, go do it.
Follow your passion. I
And
love it.
know your numbers.
Know your numbers, Jim.
Know your numbers. Yeah.
So now you said one thing, and that was pretty interesting earlier, as far as, so you said follow your passion, and you said, oh my gosh, my darn ADD, I was just getting ready to say it, and now I forgot.
See, it's not just me.
Not just you. All right, why don't you pull it up, and then as you pull it up, hopefully I'll remember.
All right, so you're going to have to, I'm going to try to figure out how to do a share screen here.
Okay, so make host. Oh, wait, no, I don't want to make you a host. I want to make you a co-host. Hold on. I think I have to give you the ability to do that. Okay, and then you should be able to, do you see the share screen? Or hit Alt S?
Hit what, Alt S?
Yeah. See if something pops up. Wait for it. All right, so while he's figuring that out, guys, if anybody has any questions, feel free to chat away. As we kind of get this deep dive going. Oh, you know what? I remember. Okay. I remember now. I knew I was going to remember ADD. Okay. So, it should, hey, just so you know, Kyle, on the same, where you found like the mute mic, it should be kind of on that same panel.
Yeah, I'm looking.
It should be next to like the chat button. Okay. So, and if you want to just send me a link, I can kind of pull it up too, if that's easy.
Why don't we do that? Make it easier. Yep. Let's do that.
So while you're sending me the link, so you said that networking is typically your best thing. And one of the reasons why knowing your numbers is so important, because he may feel like direct mail 5K a month is working. And then if he looked at his numbers, like maybe he's not getting when you're marketing, you really should be getting a minimum of like 2.5 times an ROI. And if you're not, you can probably find other better ways to spend your money. Okay. So 2.5 to maybe 3 times ROI on it. And if, so what that means is for every dollar spent, you get $3 back. Okay. And let's say Kyle, because he's good at networking, let's say he looks at the data and says, man, why am I even spending $5,000 a month to only get $6,500 back? And he just says, no, you know what? I'm going to go all in on networking. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to spend more time on lunches. I'm going to spend more time meeting people, expanding the network out. And I know as I build these relationships, I'm going to be able to get more deals in. You could have a swing that's, at the end of the year, a couple $100,000 on that. Okay. So knowing the numbers is important. Okay. So Kyle just sent me. So what's your approach to networking? Like when you're lead generating, kind of like with people and building relationships, how do you go about that?
So prior to COVID, I would try to go to every networking event possible. Like that's where I met my stager. That's where I've met so many people. Post COVID, we have it's Facebook. Social media is people are looking. You don't realize people are looking. Videos. People go, hey, I saw your video. You think nobody's looking, they are. And those are the ones that will react. I had somebody that reached out to me on a condo that I flipped in Ellisville. Grandma passed away. those are the best deals. Hey, we saw you do these renos. We love what you do. My grandma passed away. Would you be interested in buying her condo? Home run, right? No competition. So I'd say right now, social media is huge. Videos, people like videos. So the hardest thing is pulling out your camera and doing it. But do it. We just started a YouTube page. So I think social media is key. People got to know you're an investor. People got to know that you are looking for property. What's the easiest way to do it? Social media.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Looks like we have it up. Okay.
So you have befores and afters. So the second one was the before.
Okay. I haven't necessarily done this tour pics vid before, but hopefully we are able to figure it out.
We'll learn as we go. So these are the after pictures. Your befores I sent them to you.
Hopefully I can. Oh, okay. So it's going to want me to put all of them. Okay.
The before pictures are on Google Drive, so those should be easier.
Okay. So while that's downloading, let's look into the before on it. So
this is the hoarder house.
So how is it?
So this one was called by David O's sticker on his car. Okay. So it works.
So he put a We Buy Houses sticker on his car. And this beauty of a hoarder.
There she is. Yeah.
Okay, so then was he negotiating the deal, and then he kind of brought you in? What point did he?
He brought me in. Yeah, good cop, bad cop. So he had it under contract at I want to say 200, and that's when he called and he said, "Hey, come check this house out with me." I walked the house and said, "Dude, there's no way we can give 200 for this house," and you can see by the pictures. So we sat down with sellers, and I was honest. So I said, "Look, Dave and I are partners. 200,000. There's just no way." We found some foundation issues. We did do an inspection. The inspector was there, and it was being honest with them. Like, look, we're taking on all the risk here. You can't even see half of the house, so we don't even know what condition some of these walls and floors are in. So we renegotiated to 180,000.
Okay.
And they weren't happy about it, but it's not like we said you have to sell it to us for 180,000. Take it or leave it, you know. And we were willing to walk away.
What was going through your mind when you knew you had to get it down 20K? Kind of like walk. So you did it in person, correct? Like when you walked.
Always in person. Always in person. You're always going to have better success by doing it in person.
Okay, so you did it in person, and you pull up, and you're like, okay, this conversation is not going to be fun. Walk me through what was going through your head.
So Dave and I were downstairs, and I said, "Dave, just let me do the talking." Because you can be the good guy, and it's good cop, bad cop, right? I'm okay with being the bad guy. So we went upstairs, and I said, again, was honest with him. The foundation was Bowen, which because of the grading, if you can see the backyard, you can understand why. So I just sat him down, and I said, "Look, I know the contract is at 200,000, but there's no way we can do 200,000 because of A, B, and C." And these people are in denial. I mean, hoarders are a whole different animal. It's unbelievable how they live, but they want to blame everybody else. So I had empathy for them. I said, "Look, this is your time to hit the reset button. This is your out. We can still close in 2 weeks. Go start over. This is your chance to start over."
So then did they
need more time to
think about it, or did they just say, you know what?
They agreed to it right then and there. So always have your paperwork with you because they could have changed their mind. So of course, we had the amendment to the contract with us, and they signed right then and there. Now, I think if we would have given them a day, they might have changed their mind.
Did you do you remember why they were selling? It was just to start over?
So, believe it or not, they bought an RV and a brand new truck, and they were going to live life on the road.
Gotcha.
They both retired. Yeah, it was a weird deal.
And this house was really preventing them from doing that.
Right. It was paid for.
So it's an interesting thing, guys, on how like value is just because of like what Jim Manning thinks or what Kyle thinks or what you may think, value's completely in the eye of the beholder. Like, so for me, like I'd want to just wait a couple months and see what I can do about, maximizing what I sell a house for. But in these guys' standpoint, they have the new RV, they're ready to start the rest of their life. They're retired, $20,000. I mean, you can't take 20 grand with you anyway, right? Like they were ready. And who's to say who's right or wrong in this case? The win for them was to be done in 2 weeks, right?
To back up a little bit, I always give the option, right? Because, being a real estate broker, your fiduciary is with that client. It's not about me. So look, if you go on the market, you probably will be able to get more money. But guess what? They didn't want to go on the market. They're embarrassed. Like even though they were in denial, they still know how their house looked, and they did not want anybody else coming through that house. So I knew that. But I always give the option. If you don't want to take this offer, that's okay. You have another option. You can call another investor, or you can put it on the market and see what the market will bring. And it will probably bring more than I'm willing to give you. But they didn't want to do that. So at that point, you have leverage. I knew at that point I had leverage.
Yeah, because even another investor, like they'd still have to go through it. And then if they do
all the inspections, you got it. Yep.
Yep. Okay, so let's go in and let's flip into the after on this bad boy. Oh, yeah, nice curve, man. So kind of walk me through some of the decisions that you made from a design standpoint on this. Like, what were you thinking?
So curb appeal is key. It's the first thing people see when they pull up. So we painted the brick. I hate that scale up was, I hate that. I hated that. No problem. That was supposed to be like the cedar plank, but it was ordered incorrectly. So we just kind of made the best of it. So you can see those little fish scales. There's actually something I did not like about the exterior, but other people did. It was fine. You can see we did stone around the columns, stone up the garage. Like I just wanted to have, when people pulled up, it looked like a brand new house.
Nice. Okay, so let's see here. So, I mean, it's quite the facelift. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to do a slideshow here. All right, I got it figured out. Okay. So, man, yeah, that's a good looking curve. So the blue, were you like nervous about the blue or anything? I mean, blue's kind of.
I hated it. Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, so we poured a brand new driveway, brand new sidewalk.
Okay.
And we took every wall out in this house. Like I wanted everybody wants an open concept. The stairs we moved, so the stairs we shifted so we can get a larger kitchen. The stairs actually went in. You would walk in, and there was the laundry room, and then right through the garage you'd walk in, laundry room, and then the stairs would be on your right hand side. To get a bigger kitchen, we flipped the stairs to the other side, as you can see right there.
Okay.
Which it worked perfect. Yep. Yep. You got it. Yeah. So to get top dollar, couple things are needed. You have to have wow factors, and this house has several. We just took the fireplace, added a little shiplap, and then a white painted. So just put some white paint on there, and it just kind of gave it a easy. That's a gas fireplace, easy facelift. Didn't take much.
So this wall here, do you recall how much like that cost you?
Not much. Shiplap is cheap, so probably $400. There was a question down there. Yes, lighting is key, and people fought me on that gold fixture right when you walk through the front door, but I loved it and I stuck with it. And most people that came through actually loved that fixture. So lighting, I'm such a big advocate on lighting. I think lighting makes all the difference in the world. You can see the little sconces on the side.
Yeah, right there.
Little touches.
So what's interesting is like, I'm lucky if I have matching socks on. So like knowing my strengths, like I would not ever have the balls to put in this light fixture. But
some guys look at porn. I look at Pinterest, right? So that's there's no original idea. I take other people's ideas and then I just kind of make it my own.
Okay, this is cool. So then you have the open kitchen there. Okay.
Yeah, and if you pull up the kitchen before, I don't know if you can pull up the before kitchen, but so that is, where's it? I can probably just IM you. It was unbelievable where the kitchen was. It was absolutely disgusting. So there it just this. There it is. There you go. So
right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, a little different. A pretty big island that we put in, and again, behind there that's where the steps went down. So we were able to put a complete open concept in.
Yeah, it turned out beautiful.
Yeah, the bathroom so two things in my opinion always sell homes, right? Kitchen and master bath. So I always pimp those out. I actually took a whole bedroom on this house to make it into the master bath that it is, which is a gamble. But right now, most people, this was a 4-bedroom. I turned it into a 3-bedroom because my mindset was most families don't have over 2 kids at this day and age. Now I can be completely wrong on it, but knock on wood, so far it hasn't burned me. There, we did add a bedroom downstairs, but it was how I was able to get a fantastic master in here.
Is this how much like on a I mean, you're putting some really nice materials in here. How much more are you spending on your materials typically than like if you kind of did it more on the sheet?
And not a ton. It only costs a little bit more to go first class, and you'll get your money back. I like the wider plank floors, so that was actually a glue down floor. So the labor cost wasn't crazy.
Gotcha.
So it's a floating floor. Painted the rafters and.
Yeah, so the rafters are already there, and then you put it.
Yep, just painted them. Yep, added the fireplace and the stone around it, and so there, where that fireplace was another walkout. It had 3 areas to walk out, so that was actually where that stone was actually a sliding glass door.
Oh wow!
Which made 0 sense to have 3 areas to walk out. So I'm like, let's make it. Those like little plug-in fireplaces. Yeah, they're not super expensive. So that whole wall probably cost $900.
Yeah, and the sliding glass doors aren't cheap if you just put a new sliding glass door in there. Yeah, that's
right. So, but again, it gives you that wow factor, right? You had 2 exits out. What do you need 3 for? So it just made sense.
That's great. So standard, is this a master here?
Nope. So that's
another bedroom. Okay.
Yep, that's spare, and then
hallway bath.
That's the guest. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the master suite.
So there's your master suite. Yeah.
Oh baby. Okay, so
Cool. Yeah. So this was a really cool design, and it was something like I always wanted to do. So you could actually go into that shower. It's an open shower concept, which anybody who's listening, they suck. They're cold. They look cool, but they are not fun. We have one in our house, and my wife bitches, especially in the winter, how cold it is. So they do look cool. Put doors on, but people love them, right? So, but my 2 cents is they suck, but they look good. They look awesome. So yeah, you could walk in. So that was actually a bedroom from the
shower.
tub on.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all the other. So we took that bedroom to make into this phenomenal master suite. So literally there was 4 shower heads back there, and yep, there you go. Another on top. So yeah, it was. I mean, you can have a party in the shower
As you're very cold in the winter.
as you freeze your ass off.
Oh man. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I guess you could maybe get like a heat lamp or something, but
Something, yeah,
you're not gonna do. I mean, as a flipper, you're not.
No,
it makes sense to do that.
Yeah, the girl. I remember the homeowner's like, I can't wait to shower, and deep down, I was like, oh, you're gonna regret saying that.
Oh, that's funny. Oh man. Okay, so
staging is key.
Too.
I mean, so what brings these houses alive is the staging. So if anybody is they're flipping homes and not staging, it's a huge mistake. And it's expensive to stage. I mean, it was probably $3,000 to stage this house because there's so much, but it pays dividends. It truly does. My fear is always on the final walkthrough when all the staging is out, the house never looks as good.
It's
Staging,
a little bit of a letdown.
Photographs better. Yeah, a little bit. You walk in and you're like, oh my God, it's a blank canvas. So staging is so key. Again, you can see the wow factors, right? The little bar area, not super expensive to do that kind of stuff, and it makes all the difference in the world.
So the master bathroom, the master kitchen. I'll just say master in front of that, and then it looks like so nice flooring. And then,
so that there is your stick down vinyl plank flooring, not super expensive, perfect for a lower level. It's durable, and it looks good.
Yeah, it looks like you did.
We did
walls with
2 walls and added a full bath down there, which is $8,000. There it is.
Gotcha. Well, it turned out great, man. So
it was a cool house. So we ended up getting so we got $30,000 over our asking price on this house. It was the busiest open house I've ever hosted. Actually, I didn't do it. It was Brian did the open house. There was 130 people that went through this open house. It was unbelievable. It was like a traffic jam on the street, and that's what you want. So
how many offers?
Then the problem comes to, we had 9 offers. So one of the problems that you run into is now the biggest fear is how are we going to get this house to appraise out, right? I can't stress enough how important it is to meet the appraiser. So if you're not an agent, make sure your agent meets the appraiser at the house. So when the appraiser showed up, we showed up there at the same time with all 6 offers or 7 offers. Just 3 of them were contingent, so we didn't even bring those. Brought all 7 offers. And then there was no comps in this neighborhood. I mean, we blew the highest comp out by far. So what we did is we decided to go by grade school. So we brought comps within the grade school district of that neighborhood. So, and said, hey, look, here are comps that support this for the grade school, because high school is too big, middle school is too big, grade school is a smaller area. So that's why we bring grade school, and it actually appraised out. So meet the appraiser, bring all the offers if you have more than one, and typically you will, and use grade school radius to get them appraised out.
And here's the
thing. But again,
thing,
have that relationship with the appraiser. It's all about, you got to go sell the appraiser. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Well, and like the thing too about it, guys, is like, I mean, if you do improve the property to the extent they did, that neighborhood very likely does not have a house that's a comparable to what they did, like with the walls the way they did and everything like that. So like you do have a logical argument with the appraiser to say, hey, well, no, we really need these other comps that were in this grade school because it's much more relevant. So you're able to get it to even appraise out. That's awesome, man.
That's how it's done. Yeah. Now and he gets to become the neighborhood hero. And actually, I went back and looked at that. There's homes that are selling at about the same price now because they can use that as a comp. So you're welcome, Dutch Mill neighborhood.
You're welcome, Dutch Mill neighborhood. Thank you very much. Okay, so hey, one more question. I know we're right at time, guys. If you all have any other questions, feel free to hop on. But I do have one that I think is really important. When you're looking on the acquisition side for these properties that you can bump the ARV on, what are you like what's going through your head when you're saying, nah, this isn't the right fit, I wouldn't do it on this property, but this Dutch Mill one, okay, yeah, we got a shot at really raising the values in this neighborhood. What are you doing to as your criteria on that?
So I'm looking at those grade school. I have to find within a certain radius, I have to find one that I can use as a comp. So before we even think about purchasing and putting crazy money in, you have to go in and be able to justify it. We just bought another one from you, Jim, on Falmouth. It's another great example. We're going to have in that house, I just spent $35,000 in the landscaping alone on that house. We're going to have, just in costs, more than the highest comp in the neighborhood. But again, I took that grade school radius and I can justify having the most expensive house in the neighborhood by $70,000. Again, it's a risk. It could, if the market crash, it could come back and bite me in the ass. But right now I know it will work. The strategy works. So the short answer to your question is grade school radius within, wherever you want to bring the ARV. If there's not one, don't do it.
So then the one thing I would say too on that is, like let's say the market or conditions shift to where you're not being able to get that bumped up ARV. Are you still pretty well like break even if you're like where are you at like profit margin wise? Because like if you improve it this well, you're going to be able to at least get top end of what a neighborhood's selling for, right? So
typically it'd be a loser then. Yeah, I typically bust the neighborhood comps. I've yet to have one besides my very first one that I bought at the courthouse steps. I've never had one go more than one day on the market. So they've all sold first day on the market. And there's some strategy behind like how we pre-market it and all. We typically, prior to COVID, no showings until open house, which creates a buying frenzy. So there's some strategy in how we market and how we sell. It's a risk. It's a complete risk how we're doing it. Again, everybody always said, don't be the most expensive house in the neighborhood. I take that and I throw it out the window. I'm always the most expensive by $30,000 or $40,000.
Yeah.
But I'm putting stuff in a $400,000 house that you only see in $800,000 homes.
Yeah, and you get that. Yeah, and then there's in this case there was 9 buyers for it. Were there any other offers like at the similar price, or did you just kind of get this one that way outbid?
So it's all about leverage, right? How do you get leverage? You have 9 offers, and then you say, hey, you let them know, and then the escalation clauses start. So it just escalated that much over.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know what an escalation clause is you may say, hey, I'm going to purchase this price for 100,000. If you show me the other contract, I'll raise it to up to 110. So the escalation is that $10,000 difference. There's ways to combat that though. So here's a really good tip. And the only reason I know this is as a real this is like 5 years ago, a real senior investor or agent did this to me. And so let's say you have an offer for 100, escalation up to 110, and you have your next offer is like 95, and you've talked to them, they're not going to go up any. An amazing dialogue of what you can do is go to the other offer and say, hey, you know what? I've talked to my client. They actually do not want to accept an escalation clause. And, if you're willing to go up to 110, then write 110, so you can actually as a listing agent or like the investor owner, you can actually reject the escalation clause and say, hey, if you're willing to go up to 110, just give me an offer for 110. So that's I had a real senior kind of mega agent kind of pull that on me, when I was earlier in my career, and I haven't forgot it since. And we've done that before on the listing side when we're selling property. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, I really appreciate it. Kyle, thanks for your time. Thanks for pouring into the group.
Of course, buddy. Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate what you do. And
we're having fun. Watch for this next one on Falmouth, which came from you guys. So it's going to be it's going to be better than the one we just saw. I'm done using gray. So there's going to be, for the first time, no gray paint. There's going to be no shiplap. This is going to be like you're going to see lots of golds, which is, I think it's making a comeback. So it's going to be a completely different house than you're used to seeing, I think, really than any house in St. Louis. So it'll be a fun one. So 106 Falmouth, watch out for it. It's going to be a kick-ass property.
So like if I did something like that, I would be like losing, like not sleeping at night. So I'm excited to see it, man. You got a unique eye.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. I appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Buddy.
Well, appreciate you.
Good talking.
Guys, for this particular show, go to doorstodeals.com/017. Again, that's doorstodeals.com/017. You'll get full show notes and a video replay of this episode. So go out, live your purpose, and above all else, go after your dreams. Take care till next time. Thanks for tuning into this show. For more episodes and resources that will unlock Doors to Deals, check out our website, doorstodeals.com.